Hello, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Freed, and welcome to It's My Honor. I'm an executive coach doing pro bono coaching for the Honor Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping Navy SEALs, Marine Raiders, and other special operators transition from the military to the civilian workforce. Today, it's my honor to introduce you to Dillon Taylor, a Marine Raider. Welcome, Dillon.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I appreciate you doing this for us and everything you've done for my fellow brothers and sisters transitioning.
Well, it's been probably more joy for me than it has been for you. I've really enjoyed it, truly. I understand, Dillon, that you are transitioning in June of this year. Is that correct?
That's right.
So what would you say are some of the highlights of your career that you think would be important for potential employers?
Yeah, so as a special operations officer, I did 2 deployments to Afghanistan. And on my first deployment, I worked with an Afghan commando unit of about 1,000 Afghan commandos. So a lot of negotiations, cultural aspects with Afghans as well as U.S. military. We came up with some pretty innovative solutions, and we actually increased their productivity by about 20%. And in the end, these innovative kind of methodologies of leadership and negotiations that we created were recognized by our commanders. And they asked us and basically had us codify them and use them with all Afghan special forces.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was really kind of a neat experience to be able to communicate that across Afghanistan. And then on my second deployment, we embedded with a Afghan district, and I was the direct advisor to a district governor who was responsible for about 60,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we worked with him and his district council of about 20 members to work on the security initiatives and as well as the governance initiatives. And then in the development world, we actually helped with a $100 million dam project that was providing power, to 3 different provinces across Afghanistan. So we worked on a lot of those initiatives there. I took on a more executive role recently as the director of operations for an organization of about 1,200 Marines. And on that, I created a 3-year strategic plan where we tied all of our resources together. And then as the sequester was going on, we had to take our budget from $2.6 million to $1.7 million. And we actually formulated a team, came up with some innovative solutions to use our equipment and our time and our training resources and maximize that. So we were able to create this 35% budget reduction. And a lot of people don't realize that the military doesn't have all the money they think that they have. So we actually had to take that budget reduction and create the same work output. And then most recently, in my role as the executive director, I've got basically 5 organizations spread across the United States. And we increased their productivity by 40%. And I've now got 3 missions going on in Europe, a mission in Africa, and then 3 other major missions going on in the United States. So basically, my job was to synchronize all that and tie it to the strategy of our higher headquarters, as well as our commanders, and make that all those resources come together.
Fantastic. That's just fantastic. So how do you see these key skills as being transferable to the private sector?
Yeah, so the first one I would talk about is leadership. And when people talk about leadership, I don't think of it as necessarily being in charge. I think of it more as being able to work in a team of dynamic people and energize that team towards a common objective. So I think I have a unique skill set there. Negotiations, and when I think of negotiations, I think of putting myself in someone else's shoes, so his or her shoes, to understand their perspective so that we can both work towards a common objective and negotiate through it. And then creative problem solving. I have an innate ability to analyze a problem and then find innovative solutions, as we talked about in Afghanistan and other places. And then the team building aspect of that, and that's really drawing from all the diversity of a team to form a friendship and a bond amongst that team, and then get that team to optimally work towards success.
Great. So when you are looking for an organization whose culture matches your desires, what would that look like?
Yeah, it was really neat. I actually I visited an organization recently that it was amazing to me to see how much culture of that organization was just like being in special forces. And what I found was it had such a high performing team. It produced a product that everybody loved and made their lives better. and it really focused on the people of that community. And so that was really important to me. And then it added, a little added piece of it was environmental stewardship, which, was, to me, was very, very appealing. So seeing that kind of culture and that aspect, I just see that there's other things out there in the world very, very similar to what I came from, and I'm looking for that same thing.
Wonderful. So if I were to talk to one or more of your commanding officers, what would they tell me your key strengths are?
Yeah, so, I'll talk about two of them. I think, one of the main things that my boss, when he talks to me, he says, you always have an unselfish voice. And what does that mean, an unselfish voice? Well, that means that I can approach him or other leadership and say, hey, what's the right thing to do in this situation? And then, provide a different perspective for them so that they, we all kind of get lost down our train and our day-to-day thoughts. And I'm able to give them that little gut check, a little bit. And they appreciate that. They really do. And then I think the other one's my personable abilities to identify with my employees and find ways to connect with them, learn about them, and then understanding that they have things to teach me and that I can learn from them. So kind of that continuous learner aspect, which just happens to be one of my strengths.
Well, I have to say you did a wonderful job of articulating all of your highlights, your cultural desires, where your skill sets match, and I genuinely appreciate that. So I wish you very well. I understand you are moving to Wyoming, right?
Yep, Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Right, and soon to have a baby in November?
Yeah.
Right? Well, I wish you the best with that, and thank you for spending the time with me today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.